again, we'll give you candidates for state representative. We'll start with Candace Coleman.
Thank you. Most of you don't know me. I know I'm talking to people all around Milton and Middleton. So I want to tell you about myself a little bit. As you see, I use a wheelchair, not due to disease, but due to childhood trauma. I have a lot of energy. I'm a widow, moved to New Hampshire in 1980 and Milton in 1994 because I was looking for a wonderful place and community to raise terminally ill foster children, and I found it. My life has been guided by a number of principles. As a child, I was raised in a home that very much worked on the principles of the New Testament. And my father's family is Native American, and I grew up learning Native American respect for the earth. I've been an environmentalist all my life. And as an adult, I spent many years studying the political practices of Gandhi. I want to thank the people, especially the Republicans and Tea Party people who voted for me in the primary. I was really honored to be trusted across party lines. My approach to life is not to blame other people, but to work for solutions. I have no ego stake in being right or claiming credit. I like to lay my personal opinions aside and learn from other people's perspectives. I come from a very poor family that worked hard. Despite my lifelong severe disability, I worked through school and always held a career. Democratic federal laws made it possible for me to find open doors and live and thrive. I still work hard. I serve on 4 state councils representing our communities and our county. I serve on the State Council for Aging, always looking to bring issues of rural people and communities to the forefront. I serve on the State Mental Health and Planning Council and also have just been elected to the State Incentives Council, Balancing Incentives Council, which is mandated to completely revise and draft from the beginning a whole mental health plan for the future to be produced by 2015. I serve on the state's Special Education Council as well. I have, I think I'll stop there for now. Thank you.
Larry?
Larry Brown. I am 5 generations of New Hampshire, born at the wrong Portsmouth Naval Yard. My father was a civil engineer and he went to Virginia instead of just down the road. I moved to Milton because it sounded a great deal like Milford. My great-grandfather, John Dalton Brown, was the guy who ran the poor farm down in Milford. Martin Luther Brown was born when Abraham Lincoln was in office, and he died in 1965 at 99. His obituary was written up in Milford together with that of a 19-year-old Army private dead in Vietnam. It has been a long history in New Hampshire. I have roughly 15 years of community service. I have served or been elected to every committee or board that Milton has with the exception of selectmen. I was even the last serving sewer commissioner in Milton. I'm a 3-term state rep, and I brought with me my little flyer from 2004, and I said that I offer District 3 voters a solid history of community service, a reputation for careful, fair-minded assessment of the issues we face, an absolute commitment to civil government, public education, New Hampshire's heritage, and our common future. There are 3 things that are being discussed. All 3 are covered here in the Constitution. There is a plan to put handcuffs on the judiciary. There is a plan to hold a Constitutional Convention. There is a plan to put the legislature above the commission. Very simple. Article 6 says that every person, every sect and denomination is equally under law. The Constitution says every person has an obligation to pay their part of the protection that the community offers. That's enough.
Good afternoon. My name is John Mullen, and I'm here running for your New Hampshire State Representative. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm running because I see the state has slipped, and I'm concerned and want to keep its financial stability that we've seen occur in the last couple of years. I've seen over the last couple of years the legislature look at those particular situations, and they've made some changes. I don't necessarily agree with all the changes that they've made, and I believe that we need to continue that path. We need to look at everything with an open mind. New Hampshire's not new to me. I was born in Concord, Mass. My grandparents worked in the woolen mills of Maynard, and my father was a career Navy, so I was a Navy brat. And we traveled all over the country, and we finally settled in Buffalo, New York. And that's where I met my wife, Jill. We married and we moved on to our own life. I have to say that also I served in the Army from 1966 to 1969, served time in Vietnam. My wife and I came to New Hampshire, actually Bedford in 1999, as being transferred by Tyco Electronics from New York State. And I have to tell you, living in New York State as long as we did, we understand and are fully aware of impacts of taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, and income taxes, and how they affect your daily lives and how they affect your pocketbook. In 2002, we moved to Milton, where we currently have our home, and that's made our final home. I retired from Tyco in 2007 and took an interest in more activities within the town. I volunteered, I engaged, and in 2008, I decided and ran for Board of Selectmen and was elected. During that term, that 3-year term of Board of Selectmen in Middleton, I was able to increase efficiencies and reduce costs without increasing taxes and keeping the services that Middleton wanted. I look forward to the process here, and I appreciate you having me here, and I look forward to serving you.
Thank you very much. I'm Roby Parsons, and I am running for re-election as your state representative in New Hampshire and in this district. I have been, it has been my distinct pleasure to serve you for the past 2 years. I will continue working for you so that your residents of New Hampshire can keep more of their personal freedoms and more of their hard-earned money. I am working right now with the University System of New Hampshire to reduce their administrative overhead so that our New Hampshire students can have a better, less expensive, or at least the very least hold the cost down as they attend our colleges and universities. I'm also working with the University System of New Hampshire, the Community College System of New Hampshire, and the Department of Education to educate our students at every level so that we can service all the businesses here and businesses interested in locating here. And I look forward to serving you for the next 2 years, and I ask that you consider voting for me. Thank you.
What is your stance on the Northern Pass project?
I'm an environmentalist, very strongly. However, I do believe that technology and need for power are in our future. So I have to balance those things. As it sits now, I could not support this project It may be that there are ways that we could have our environment and our communities stay as they are and have this project. If that were so, and it was proven to me that we could maintain what we have currently as in the quality of life in New Hampshire, I would be willing to look at it. That's all I know now.
I stand with Ray Burton. I'm against it.
On the Northern Pass, part of New Hampshire's major, in one of New Hampshire's, if not the most important one, is tourism. And I'm not in favor of towers obscuring one of our resources that we have. I'm not against power. We're not going to be able to use that power. That's just coming through the state. If they can put it underground, I might look at it. I'd look at it more if we could tap into that and reduce our electric rates here. We've been told by PSNH and its parent that because the electricity will be coming down to New England, Massachusetts and such, that that will benefit them and allow them to reduce their fees to us. I don't believe that in a minute. I'd like to tap into that. But until then, and until we look at another approach of underground, I'm not in favor of the Northern Pass.
I'm not in favor of it either for different reasons. The biggest reason when I saw the proposal in committee was that they said as a last resort, they would use eminent domain to take the property. I do not believe in that at all, and that's the reason that I'm against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you support expanded gambling?
I don't gamble for ethical reasons, but I believe that individuals have a right of choice and that they can choose to gamble if they wish, and that the citizens of this state can come up with proposals of ways in which they would like gambling in their state, at which point, if I were a representative, I would have to listen to my constituents and not follow my own belief system.
Article 12A is one of the latest additions to the Constitution, and it was based on the Connecticut experience in New London, exactly and specifically prohibiting a private public domain. One of the few math genes that I got from my civil engineering father was the math on gambling. There is a great difference between the state lottery, which is state-controlled, state-administered, and state monies going directly for education, and what I will call the rat bar gambling, whack, 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 of 4-second video slot machines in some dull back room. That is not a New Hampshire way. It's just, proponents have said that there will be small social costs to gambling, and they're going to come anyway. That writes off some family that you may know in the future. I don't accept that.
Gambling in New Hampshire, I think, is looked at by some as a revenue enhancer. The way I look at it is I get nervous when I see revenue sources come in that replace possibly good management, good cost control. I think everybody has a right to do what they please to do. Gambling is one of them. I'm not sure we have the things in place that would be able to manage that properly. I'm not sure that Rockingham is the best place to put that. As some mentioned, slots. I would prefer to see if gambling did come in that it would be a destination place, if that's the case. But to use the reasoning that gambling will bring resources to the state is, I think, a false pretense, if you will, or a false assumption. That will cost us money. Will the revenue be there? I'm not sure.
At this particular point, I don't believe in expanded gambling. I think that we cannot compete with what's going to go on in Massachusetts, and we would just become a minor thing. To keep the money here in New Hampshire, I think is a misconception, and that the people who want to go to a resort are going to go to a resort, a big one like Foxwood or something like that. And that we would take second seat to all of that unless we did a $30 million licensing or whatever it is 3 or 4 times, and that's not the New Hampshire way. And I think so that's, we're being, well, that's why I oppose it. Thank you.
What is your opinion concerning school vouchers, especially considering that the vouchers would allow people to send their children to private or religious-based schools?
I believe public money should be used for public purposes.
But, thank you. I happen to bring my copy of the state constitution with me. There are 2 things on this. Part 1, Article 6 says that every person, sect, and denomination shall be equally under the law. It doesn't say that they will be equal under the law. It says that they will be equally under civil law. And to divert public education monies to a religious use does not satisfy my understanding of Part 1, Article 6. Part 1, Article 12 says that taxation and protection are reciprocal, and that no part of a person's property, I don't have an exact quote, can be taken without representation. If you get a benefit from the community, you have an obligation to support it, even if it is uncomfortable for you. Democracy is easy when it is just for the people like you already agree with them. What is difficult is to extend public education, to have your children exposed to ideas that are common to the continuation of the state that you do not agree with. It's a little bit like going into the Army. The Army is a great modifier of opinion, and public education does that for the multiple experiences that we bring into the state.
Education, I think, is probably one of the most important things we think of as parents. And I think we want our children to have the best education that they can get. My view is that education should be a choice. That's a difficult thing today because the choices are limited. I believe that we should afford those parents who want to choose an education for their kids can do so. I support homeschool. I support charter schools. It's not just religious schools, but it's all those rolled in together. So if we can allow our parents to choose to get the best education that they can get for their kids, whether it's public schools do an excellent, excellent job. We need to work on those, but they do a good job. But we need to give those who want to make a change, who want to take another direction and educate their children, I think we ought to allow them to do it.
I think that the voucher system is a good idea, and the reason being that there are so, as Senator Bradley said, there are so few people affected by this, that those are the people that really need a choice, and that they should have that choice. Thank you.
This time I would ask each one of the candidates to have a 2-minute closing statement.
First, I just want to say that my last statement had nothing against charter schools and homeschooling. I've homeschooled all my children, and also one of my sons is in a charter school now. But I think that citizens' money should belong to citizens. Let's see. In my work life and public life, I've been criticized many times for being ethical and frugal. When I was a state administrator, every year I chose to return a significant amount of our budget without harming services. I returned money and we won awards for the services. Some people didn't like me for it, but oh well. I have served as, not only in education, but I've administered and wrote curriculum for a program to take chronically homeless, mentally ill, and addicted populations and put them in permanent employment at a 95% success rate for 10 years. I was on the board for the first battered women's shelter. We used no public funding. I started a veterans reintegration center. We used no public funding. I think there are many ways that we can do things in our society without giving up our humane values. I see small communities and all small communities as historical cornerstones of our country, and I believe that our state and federal governments were added on to protect and support our communities and towns. Today I ask if that's still the case. My question before each voter action that I would take would be, how will this affect Milton and Middleton? And I would hope that at the end of my watch, our communities would be stronger, safer, and more humane than they are today. When we talk about budgets, I think we forget to talk sometimes about costs. As you can see in my career, I've considered human costs. And I wonder whether we can afford to ever be inhumane. I thank all who will vote for me, Democrats, Republicans, Tea Partiers, and Independents. And if you have any questions of me before you cast your vote, please call me. Thank you.
It's hard to do a summary because every question that has come up today is still an open question that needs to be decided. I will bring two things. I am a cemetery trustee, and after 8 years, I am presently the chair of the Budget Committee in Milton. For the last 3, if not 4 years, my numbers, the numbers of an English major, have carried into the budget. I work on 3 things. Assessment, what do you have when you start? Analysis, what does that mean? Third, action, what are you going to do? I'm on the Budget Committee because of the impact the Budget Committee has on life for each of us today. I'm a cemetery trustee because with 5 generations here, it is the honor that we owe to those who came before us. If you would like that assessment, that analysis, that action from me as your state representative, I would be proud and thankful. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming. It's my first time in an event like this, and it's certainly have enjoyed it. Suzanne, thank you very much for the invitation. One of the things that I think I can bring to New Hampshire, and particularly and more importantly to Middleton and Milton, is that a representative's first responsibility is to you. Not to Concord, not to me, but to you. We answer to you. We represent you. And I pledge that that will be a focus of mine if I'm elected. I think I bring some skills. 4 years in business, some years as a selectman have given me points of view from both sides of the table. I think I've been able to look at things with an open mind, take a look at what the issues are, ask opinions, and seek events or actions that might solve the issues. And then with those in hand, make a decision. So with those skill sets in hand and my dedication to you, I hope and pray that you send me to Concord. Thank you.
For myself, a little bit about me is that I'm on your planning board, and I was elected to the 2nd term this March. In prior years, I was on the school board in Rochester for a couple of terms. I was on the board of directors for Dover Adult Learning Center for about 7 years, and had behind the scenes have been active in a number of things in this area in Stratford County. And in closing, I'd just like to say thank you for having me, and that I would look forward to serving you for 2 more years, and please consider voting for me. Thank you.